Mark Esper giving new details on the raid that killed ISIS leader Baghdadi. This as a senior State Department official tells Fox News a U.S. strike also killed Baghdadi's right-hand man, another spokesperson for ISIS. Here now is former Navy Lieutenant Congressman Jim Banks. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for being here. What do you make of the media attempts to minimize or even ridicule the president's role in this operation?
It's unfortunate, but I think it's probably what we've come to expect from the media in this era, unfortunately. I mean, you saw everything from the Washington Post eulogizing Baghdadi to a lot of the pundits on TV over the last 24 hours trying to minimize this really important set of news and this really true victory in a set of victories in our fight against ISIS. The president deserves an enormous amount of credit. I mean, you got to give credit from the men and women in uniform on the ground all the way up to the commander-in-chief who ordered the raid. From what I understand, this was a long time in the works. The president brought his senior national security officials together early in the administration and said this was a priority, and the last couple of days was a culmination of that effort.
Congressman, this is Gary Kaltbaum. First off, thank you for your service. I want to ask about all the talk now about potential for retaliation because of what just happened, retaliation from the bad guys. What do we do now as a government, as a country, as far as preparing? Is there anything extra going on in Washington, D.C. right now with the Justin case?
Well, we are well prepared, I believe. I serve on the House Armed Services Committee, and we've invested heavily in these efforts to fight ISIS. I mean, just to give a little bit of context, to go back in time a little bit, I mean, it's important to remember that the previous administration, the previous president called ISIS the junior varsity of terrorism. And after that, President Trump, as a candidate, campaigned on wiping out ISIS and destroying them as an entity. And he's largely done that. I mean, the news 24 hours ago of killing Baghdadi is important because he was the chief, not just he was not just the religious leader of ISIS, a spiritual leader of ISIS, but he was also the chief recruiter of ISIS, which made him a significant figure even while he was bunkered down in the state that he was when he was killed. So we've cut off the head of the serpent of ISIS and eliminating the chief recruiter. That's going to send ISIS down a path, hopefully, where we can defeat them even further moving forward.
Hi, Congressman Jack Howell from Barron's. I take your point. Some of the news channels today, the main story all day was about baseball games and booing. You'd think they never heard of a Baghdadi today. I want to get your take on this. The president talking about Washington being a place full of leaks, and the news that the speaker was not briefed on this before this assault. I mean, what do you make of that? The implication seems to be that the speaker is, one of the people who might be a source of risk in Washington. Is that your take on it, or what should I take from that?
Well, as a Navy officer, I like to remind people that loose lips sink ships, and that's what the commander-in-chief was getting at here. It's not like the president and his administration didn't brief Congress. They did. They kept Chairman Burr of the Senate Intelligence Committee in the know. They briefed Senator Lindsey Graham along the way. The statute from the 50s that requires the president to brief Congress on intelligence matters is vague about who they need to brief. But in this case, there were briefings that took place. But it's understandable, as far as I'm concerned, that with everything we've been dealing with from the leaks coming from Chairman Schiff, the lies of Chairman Schiff over the past couple of weeks, to the politicization of everything by Speaker Pelosi, it's understandable to me that the commander-in-chief, the president, kept them in the dark until after the raid was successful.
Yeah, thank you, Congressman. Thanks for being with us. And I would totally agree. It seems to me, frankly, that Schiff and Pelosi have thrown away their opportunity to work with this commander-in-chief on matters just exactly like this. In terms of going back to the question about retaliation or possible pushback or whatever from ISIS, are people thinking that is likely in the United States or in Europe? I mean, is there any particular focus to that concern, as far as you know?
We can't pretend like ISIS isn't a threat, even though we've killed their leaders. So we have to prepare for those contingencies, whether it's on the homeland or whether it's abroad.
Sure.
Attacks against us or our allies. But keep in mind, too, it's important. I remind my constituents in Indiana all the time or they remind me that the reason that we are in places like Syria or that we remain in places like Afghanistan is that we can fight them there instead of having more incidents like 9/11 here. That's why we send our men and women in uniform overseas to fight ISIS there. And those efforts will continue, I imagine, well into the future, unfortunately, until our work is done of wiping ISIS off the map.
Congressman Jim Banks, I wish we had more time, but thank you very much. As always, a pleasure to talk to you. Please come back and see us again.
You got it. Thanks for